Welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Ed Piskor.
I'm Jim Rugg.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the 25-cent issue of Hellboy featuring his story, The Corpse, one of the great Hellboy comic stories. But first, I want to make you guys aware that Jimmy and we're going to be on the road in October, first going to CXC in Columbus, Ohio, October 6th through 9th. We are then going to be rounding out that month at Baltimore Comic-Con, October 28th through the 30th. That is the birthplace of Cartoonist Kayfabe. And Jimmy is going to be in Florida, October 22nd, at the Jacksonville Public Library for a Zine Fest. He's going to be doing a big interview in front of everybody, the man of the hour, at that joint. And I want to let you guys know that the Red Room Trigger Warnings trade paperback is going to be in stores September 2022, but the final orders have to be in by this coming Monday after this video goes live. So put in your orders at your comic shop right now so that we know how many of these things we have to print. Also, I want to invite you guys to like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell so that we can notify you when new vids are available. That mitigates the kayfabe effect, which is what happens when we put a video out in the morning. By early afternoon, midday, the comics that we talk about, prohibitively expensive online if you could find them at all. And if you watch these videos to the very end, that helps push our YouTube content out to a wider audience, helps us grow our subscriber base, helps make it possible for us to continue making more videos for you. And today, let's take a look at a little Mignola, man. It's been a couple months since we looked at some work from Uncle Mike, and I feel like this 25-cent issue was a pretty gettable at a certain point.
Yeah, I think it must have been a tie-in to the movie, that kind of thing, to do the quarter book. But the first time that I ever saw this was in the mid-90s, after I think the first Hellboy series, early on. It was serialized in Advance Comics, which for people unfamiliar with that was Capital City. Instead of Diamond, Capital City, another distributor, and that was their catalog, 2 pages at a time.
Yes.
And Mignola has talked about this being one of his favorite Hellboy comics. I think this is one of the all-time great comics. I'm excited to go through this page by page, but it's interesting to note that it was serialized 2 pages at a time is how this thing appeared. And I think there's all kinds of storytelling lessons as a result of that particular distribution model.
Absolutely, man. And it is a tried and true formula, man. I'm looking at my Tintin books over there that I believe, it had many different kinds of serializations, but I think it was a 2-page at a clip.
Yep.
Level of serialization for a long time. Jimmy Corrigan comes to mind. Chris Ware's work at these Chicago weekly papers, same deal. He would do basically 2 pages of comics a week. And for those playing at home, if you're looking for Advanced Comics, issues 75 through 82 is where this comic first appeared. Did you say, was it black and white?
No, it was in color.
Yeah.
But I think this front page, this title page,
New
is
piece.
extra.
Yeah,
that's
new
a
piece.
different piece. So, you'll kind of see the rhythm that comes up in that 2-page serialization. But what's really interesting to me is thinking about, whatever I'm going to do next, and it's like, well, I want to serialize it online, maybe on Instagram, whatever. It's that same kind of structure. And I think of graphic novels, and one of my complaints of graphic novels is they can be kind of boring and talking heads, especially these days where it's like you're trying to get it done as quick as possible because those advances are small. This is a real different way to approach storytelling where it's like you're getting a satisfying installment because the installments are 2 pages. Like, you need to deliver a lot in those 2 pages. You need a cliffhanger, you need some action to advance, you need all of these elements to make it successful, and it's a different approach to doing a longer narrative.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of exciting. Like, I see this as a challenge of, like, you do 2 pages at a time and deliver in each of those 2 pages. Imagine a graphic novel that's built that way.
Absolutely, man. I mean, there is precedent for such serialization. The adventure comics of the newspaper strips were essentially a very similar format, similar panel count, and expected the weekly readership, so they would end on such a high note and things. I feel like this takes that kind of comic book history and really distills it down into a very, very tight form.
It feels like writing boot camp.
Yeah.
Because whenever Mignola starts Hellboy, he's got John Byrne scripting, and I don't know if he had written or plotted any comics up to that point. So he's learning to write, great artist already, but learning to write as he's getting into Hellboy. And this kind of delivery seems like boot camp for writing.
Yes. Dave Stewart, often associated with the color for Mignola, but this time we got Matt Hollingsworth, who's one of my favorite colorists from that mid-90s era. You know, I know him mostly from Preacher comics, and he solidifies what I think of as being one of the great collaborative teams in comics, one of the few great collaborative teams in comics, with Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon, Clem Robbins on lettering, and Matt Hollingsworth with the color. But he's bringing all the right chops here. So many cool colors. And there's barely even warm colors, man. It's almost all towards the blue, except for Hellboy.
That's right. It's all muted colors except one concentrated color is red. And we have our baby has been kidnapped and replaced.
Yes, outed, man, by use of a little bit of iron. He built so much mythology into his world where... he establishes that iron is a thing. It's just all this invisible stuff. If this was a Marvel comic, there would be captions to explain very clearly that iron is no good.
Yes.
For these little demons.
That's a good point. The way he delivers everything through dialogue or art in this comic is really impressive.
It's compelling. He does this whole thing. There's rules to this game. There's a very old game. I've played this game before. I'll get your baby back. This is not his first rodeo. This shot, it makes me think of Salem's Lot. Remember, like, the little boys hanging out outside the window?
It is masterful shot after masterful shot and series of images that fit really well. It's great. Like, you can follow this stuff. Rule of threes is something in design, and that's where you see this character. He's really hit his stride at this point.
And I think so much of it is intuitive.
I think it is.
This page, I remember the first time I saw it was in Comic Artist Magazine, and it was probably the issue where they did a big giant interview with Mike Mignola. But it was cited, like, this page was called out specifically because it could be read in any order.
Neat.
Like, that was what Mike was thinking. Like, I want something where you could take a look at any panel and just look at it as a whole, and it's its own thing.
Each panel adds some piece of information. Like our corpse hanging here shows up at midnight. Points, close up of what's he pointing at. We see the silhouette of the couple of three characters rolling up. Now we move to the three characters. It is just wordless and easy to follow. The words that are there make sense. Like, it's just great storytelling.
They have like these Cockney accents, man. So he's getting his experience doing that Alan Moore gimmick.
Yes. Making deals too. Like, this is the corpse in question, right? Like, if he wants that baby back, the deal is you got to give this guy a burial. This is a guy who was friends with these little people, these fairy people.
Yes. Yeah, so it's now becoming, it's a quest.
Yeah, it's really clear what he wants. You know how they talk about, like, in writing, the character should want something?
Intentions and obstacles.
It's very clear what is wanted and what Hellboy's trying to do, what all the characters are trying to do. Also a great setting. I went to, I think this is set in Ireland, and I went to Ireland earlier this year, and, like, it makes so much sense reading this now and seeing, like, the various castles and the landscapes and everything. Just beautiful for, like, you got to draw your setting is I hate to do setting as a character.
Yeah.
But it's such a rich setting for art style of Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
All the buildings and doors and tombstones, just perfect. He even makes stuff like a floor look good.
He does. And never, I always like to point out, never taping down that artboard and rolling perspective grids and things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fairy people gave him a couple of locations, like, this is where this guy's got to be buried. Gave him a few locations, so we're going to roll through those, and he's met with resistance at each one.
Yes.
Not going to be easy.
So it gives you a couple of, another cool couple of months worth of strips that are easy to do. You got at least three months worth of stuff in the can there.
You can almost imagine reading this, that he's writing it as we see the pages.
Absolutely, and I think that was certainly how those comic strips would work.
Man, how great are the silhouettes. I love the line for, like, the iron gates. It looks so good. It's so simple, but it looks so good. Hellboy's silhouette. Talk about distinct.
Absolutely, man.
And Hollingsworth really coming through whenever he lights a fire on some of these characters. I was looking at this flaming skull and thinking, like, Ghost Rider would look so badass like that.
Totally.
It's a really good flaming skull. But it pops whenever most of your colors are blue to have that little bit of orange spark.
See the 2000 AD Monolith? Or 2001 Monolith?
Yeah,
Just hanging
2001.
there. Comics on the brain, Jimmy.
Hey, I found this really interesting. When the corpse talks, he has this like black kind of cloud behind the word balloons.
Right.
Who's putting that in? Is that your letterer or is that Mignola?
Yeah, I bet you he's adding that because like the division of labor would if it was like what do you call it, man? Like assembly line process. It's pencils, letters, inks, color.
Yeah.
Right. So like
Yeah.
he gets the shit back and then you ink that in.
And this story is reprinted in one of the Hellboy artist editions. I think
It
it's
is,
the Hellboy
yeah.
in Hell, so you can see this stuff in glorious black and white. And one of those artists, man, where I think the work looks as good in color as it does in black and white.
Totally. This is one of those interesting moments. There's not another panel like this where it's kind of like, is this an idea? Is this what's really there? You just get a flash on it and you keep rocking.
Yeah. Almost a video game, like, reach in here and try to steal it before the rock comes down on you.
Right.
Here at Cartoonist Kayfabe, we aren't just making videos about comics, we're making comics themselves, and we've got some big releases coming up this fall. Ed Piskor's Red Room, Trigger Warnings, collecting the second season of Red Room is available in stores in September, but you can pre-order that now wherever you order books or comics. You want to pick that up now in time for the Christmas rush, because the way printing and paper shortages are, you want to make sure you pre-order this book to make sure you don't miss out, because once these are gone, it may take a minute or two to get the reprints, and you don't want to be stuck this holiday season without it. My Hulk Grand Design book, the retelling of the 60-year history of the Incredible Hulk, will be in stores in December in time for Christmas. Again, you need to pre-order that book now. Let Marvel know how many of these things to print. This is the best book that I have made. Marvel let me design this book. It's going to be a big, oversized, neon green book that you will want to add to your collection. Put a red bow on it, stick it under the Christmas tree for the Hulk fan in your life. And Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive from Image Comics has been out of print for almost a year. We'll be back in print by the end of August or early September. So put that on your pull list now at your local comic shop or online wherever you get books. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. Love the landscapes. And then so effective whenever you do remove color. He's fighting like this invisible force at this potential tomb.
Right.
Some ghost that's kicking his ass.
Serious compositions here, man. Like just strong shapes.
Yeah. Good designs too. You look at like their leader, an owl, another one of the little people, and then all those little winged insects. Great designs on all these characters, and you're only going to see this guy 3 times.
Right.
Still develops a good look for him. Some humor in the corpse that he's carrying. A chance to, again, I think to me that speaks to the writer, the storyteller part, to have those kinds of moments of levity in here, wherever you can find them.
Totally. Whenever we get these opportunities for these big expansive shots, he really seizes it, man. And there's just directional devices everywhere. Black on black on white on black on white on black.
Yeah, really cool stuff with that limited palette where the purples are almost your lit faces popping. But the green used to show like, oh, this is the underwater part. This is down in that boggy, like gross water. But it works. It's like, this is what you want to use color for.
And it is that Universal Monsters, like you got some kick lights down there.
Yeah.
More great designs, dude.
Yeah, that's a fun monster. It's wild to think of how early in Hellboy's story this stuff is.
Little Deus Ex Machina. This I feel like speaks to writing on the fly kind of thing, because he just pulls out a little coin. This ain't Chekhov's coin.
This is a better use of a utility belt than I've ever seen in Batman.
Sure.
Maybe Batman Year One, there's some good utility belt action in there, but this is a really good utility belt. And you know why? Less is more.
Yeah.
Like he's not spelling it all out. It's just enough to show us what we need to see.
And it works.
Yep.
The first punch, like, it happens. It's successful, but it's not a death blow. He builds that up. And then the big villain just becomes more kind of homunculus and weak.
Yeah, it's really good, the scale of that villain shrinking. You go, especially across like the 2-page spread, once again, good use of the spread, where he's massive in panel 1 and gets smaller and smaller. That's not that easy of a thing to draw.
No, sir.
Lost his arm. Lost his arm in the fight.
And he's like, so what? You're dead. There were a couple moments throughout this comic where Hellboy's just kind of like, what do you care if you break something? You're dead. You're dead already, or whatever. Arm gets taken away, and he's like, "What are you talking about? It's my arm. Yeah, I need it."
And he goes and retrieves it.
Right.
That's a fun callback too to this underwater character, this witch, the sea hag.
Yeah.
She's down there chewing on it again. Chance for some humor. It's funny how his style lends itself to humor.
Have you ever seen Kirby dots as air bubbles?
Yeah, it's good.
So cool.
Yeah, I like seeing the Kirby in his work. It's an unusual mashup, but it makes the monster fights. It's the callback to me to like the pre-Marvel Universe Kirby monster comics. There's just something really beautiful about having those little bits in Hellboy.
His little foliage textures are so cool. Like, none of it seems dashed out. Like, he's really thinking about each of those lines.
Right.
You know, it's very methodical. There you go, you old corpse. You got your burial. Now give me my baby.
He mentions in the previous 2 pages, Hellboy, that, you know, the sun's coming up. Like, this location has to work because otherwise he loses out on the deal and the baby's gone forever. And you see Hollingsworth coming through with the very gradual, like, lightening of the cool colors that we've seen all throughout this story. But now they're getting lighter as the sun is coming up. That's a really great, I think, attention to detail. I love like
Genius.
sunrise time and watching that color come up. And that's kind of, he captures it really well.
Yeah. Still got to test out the little kid. But once again, no exposition, no explanation, no captions involved to remind us of what we just read 10 pages before.
Yeah.
You know, it's just there. The end. Got somebody who's going to be happy to see you.
And you get your full color saturation in the very final panel, the happy ending panel. The color represents that happy ending too.
Yeah.
I like that he taps the kid on the head with the with the iron horseshoe.
You got to be sure, man. You got to be sure.
I don't think most babies are going to respond great to that. And you can see the time frame here. We've got a movie that we're promoting, so get the most out of that quarter comic that you're probably losing a couple of cents on.
And here's the corpse.
Corpse looks good.
In the flick. Yeah, I don't remember that.
I don't either. I don't remember much of the details of this movie. It's been so... I think I saw it in theaters and that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does... It's amazing how much this movie captured the style of Mignola's art.
Totally.
And you can see again, like, man, you're talking about selling rope.
Yes, sir. All kinds of fucking lunch boxes, dude.
Yeah.
Dark Horse had the machine set up.
They did.
For this kind of stuff over years. Like for a little while there, they were doing stuff for them, but now for a while they were doing stuff for Hollywood properties and stuff. Now they're making some stuff on their own. They've established some ideas.
Fun promo comic.
Totally. 25 cents, man. Like, how could you ever say no to such a thing?
Yeah, and just to reiterate again, like, to me, the storytelling in this is just off the charts.
Yes.
Again, people interested in making comics, this is a great book to have in your collection.
Agreed, man. You good to go?
I am.
All right, Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell. We'll notify you when new vids are available. What's out there, Jimmy?
Hulk Grand Design, the oversized collection, is coming to comic shops and bookstores in December in time for Christmas, but you need to pre-order it now. Pre-order it from wherever you buy books, online or at your local comic shop. I will appreciate that. And Marvel will know there's enough demand to do more Grand Design comics, and you won't be left out in the cold Christmas morning because you didn't pre-order it. So Hulk Grand Design is the thing, and join me on patreon.com/JimRugg to see more of my comics and art.
Red Room Trigger Warning straight paperback in store September 2022. Murder on the Dark Web for Fun and Profit is the name of the game, collecting the 2022 season of Red Room issues that have hit the comic shop over the past 4 months or so. You can order and pre-order these comics at my link tree in the description below this video. You can also hit up my Patreon. $3 get you the archive there. Almost 300 pages worth of comics are up there as we speak. And I'm serializing Red Room comics that won't see the light of day on paper in print form for another half a year or so. What else do we have out there, Jim?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe e-newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merchandise at the links below this video.
Another great way to support the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel. Given those marching orders, we'll be on our way.
Read more comics.